This is Inside Badger Football with head coach Trey Shucker. Inside Badger Football is brought to you by the Arkadelphia Alliance and Chamber of Commerce, ATO Automotive, Batson Signs, Bell Wealth Services, Blakelytown, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Chicken Express, Citizens Bank, Domino's, Eccles, Thompson and Kneebone CPA, Doctors Gary and Rob Rucker, Knight Insurance Professionals, L&J Auto Sales, Ludwig's Bakery, Park Hill Baptist Church, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Print Mania, Providence Veterinary Care, Roger Wingfield State Farm, Scott Bird DDS, The Sexton Firm, South Central Connect, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Auto Collection, Taylor King Law, Tea Time Sims, Trinity Temple Assembly of God, Turner, Rogers, Manning and Plyler CPA, Twin Rivers Health and Rehabilitation, and Welch Funeral Home. The host of Inside Badger Football is Cooper Darr.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside Badger Football. Joining me as always, head coach of the Arkadelphia Badgers, Trey Shucker. How are you, Coach?
Doing great. We're in the playoffs and moving on to the next round. There's a lot of teams out there that their season's over, and we're fortunate enough to be playing still, so we're excited to be here.
That's right. The 4A conference classification is very large, but that got cut in half this past week, and Arkadelphia is going to keep on moving on. But, Coach, we're going to talk about last week's game, Highland. It was a home game. It was the first round of the playoffs. Win, keep moving forward, as Arkadelphia did. But if you lose, the season's done. Coach, Highland, Coach, it ended up being a 30-point game. It did. But some things were left on the table. You know, let's just talk about that.
Yeah, I thought our offense executed well in the first half or early in the game, and then for whatever reason we started being inconsistent. You know, it just felt like a position group would make a mistake, another position group would be on doing right, and then it would flip. We just got out of sync and spent a couple trips into the red zone that we didn't come up with points, and so that that was the part that we felt like we needed to improve on. Just the overall rhythm, being consistent, and we got to score in the red zone. Defensively, I thought defensively did a really good job of getting them off the field. I know they did score, but I thought overall we did a really good job on third down. Fourth down, I think we were 3 of 6, but did a really good job of getting them off the field, and that's the end goal. Special teams played really well also, created a really good field position for us, and so we felt like we won the special teams battle, and that's a big thing in the playoffs.
Coach, a lot of points of emphasis in this game, but also the film is going to help y'all realize what is going on. So, Coach, let's go ahead and watch some film together. Let's watch the highlights of this past week's game. It was a big victory. Just like we said, we ended up in the mercy rule in the fourth quarter, but there were always some things to work on. Coach, let's talk about the beginning of this game, coming out on defense. Let's just start there.
Yeah, defense came out hot. We started the game off with a sack, and we did a really good job of creating, explosive plays on defense. We were in the backfield being disruptive. And then we get the ball back, offense goes down, and we score the football. So getting the first points on the board, especially in the playoffs, is a big deal. Being able to play the game from ahead with the lead is a big deal, especially in a game like this. Put pressure on their offense to go execute. Our defense did a really good job of being physical tacklers. We just saw the kickoff. Did a really good job with their cover down. Again, being physical tacklers, setting the tone for the game.
Coach, let's still talk about defense. They came out with a sack. The Badgers came out with a sack and trying to get multiple, turnovers. Let's talk about let's just start at the defensive line. Let's work back. I felt like your defensive line had a pretty good game as well. Xavier getting pressure back there, Lance Gully, Skylar McClure, all of those guys.
Yes, in the run and pass game. The pass game is where our defensive ends really get noticed, but they did a really good job in the run game also, getting into different sets. Highland got into different sets. They'd spread us out. They'd get into a couple heavy formations and do different things, but I thought our front line did a really good job of playing with great technique and physicality, understanding the scheme and being violent.
Coach, what was something that you watched in film prior to this game that you kind of expected, but also something that kind of caught you by surprise that had to make adjustments for you?
Yeah, so, when you watch the film, you only get a few films during the playoffs. But based off of what we saw on film, they gave us what we saw. And so early in the game, we were taking advantage of it. We knew that there were certain players that we wanted to go after. And then Highland did a really good job of adjusting. They started sending pressures. They really started, playing lower in coverage and trying to get in the backfield. And that's where we started, making our passes shorter. We started RPOing some, just trying to get the ball out quick. And our run game was very effective also.
Yeah, I mean, the run game was very effective. We just saw another big run. Caden Whitaker right there. Talk about, and we got to sub in multiple guys at running back this past week. Talk about how, we've talked about it before, but the depth, also just how explosive your running backs have been this year.
We feel like we've got a stable of running backs. We feel like we've got 5 guys that we really feel good about. We were able to see Malachi Hamilton come into the game and put up some really good yards in some crucial situations. And so that was really encouraging to see. Play right there, just a really good play on the ball. Jaden McKenzie, starting corner for us, junior, made a really good play on the ball. Gets a hand to it, and the ball kind of sticks to him, and we're able to get a little bit of a return. But just being able to play the ball in the air, that's something that we've struggled at times in the back end. But it's really encouraging to see our guys developing and continue to get better and coming up with some of those takeaways.
Coach, getting yards after a carry, after receiving a pass, or even maybe after getting hit, but gaining those extra yards every single time. Can you kind of just give us some insight? Is that something that is worked on in practice? Is that, I don't know, kind of give us some insight on how that happens?
Well, I think that kind of stuff starts in the off season, with your strength conditioning program. We've developed our players to where we feel like they're able to be physical, be strong, be violent. They've got the strength to where they can break tackles. And, obviously we want to be a physical tackling defense, so it all plays together. It's a violent sport. But no, our guys do a really good job. Yes, we work on things that to break tackles, right? Like, we don't want to stop our feet on contact. We want to be physical all the way through. But it just comes down to the players making the play, and we've got guys that do that.
Coach, your linebackers, I felt like this week their eye discipline was something that was very different, in this game. They were watching the guards, they were watching run pass.
Yeah.
How important is that, just quick reaction time from a linebacker standpoint?
It is, and a lot of it comes down to instinct and reps and just the knowledge of the game. And it all factors in. We've got guys that have had a lot of really good experience, played a lot of football and been successful. And so that's the way we're playing right now, especially on defense.
Coach, we just had a blocked PAT right there. Q Morris, talk about that.
Yeah, so, the mentality is, they just scored, so they've got points on the board. Going out for a PAT, we don't want to allow any more points. A lot of teams don't rush the kick. We're going to, because we don't want to give you anything extra.
Something that we don't get to see a lot, but Bryce Meekin going out there for a punt. We saw it some at the beginning of the season, but
it's been a while since we've had to utilize it.
It
is. We were able to flip the field, pinned them on their own goal line, and then it created a safety. Kind of goes back to special teams plays a big part, especially in the playoffs. Coach Chandler, I say it every week, Coach Chandler does a great job with our special teams unit, all of our special teams units, and it factors in with field position and points.
Coach, your offensive line keeping McCoy safe this week, having plenty of time, but also in the run game as well, making their blocks, having multiple pancakes as well, which is awesome to see. Talk about the offensive line.
Yeah, they did a great job, especially early. As the game progressed, Highland started doing some different stuff and sending some different pressures, and that's where we struggled. Where in the past we haven't. Our running backs didn't really do a good job of stepping up in the pass pro also, and those are things that we're having to adjust. And in the middle of a game, we've got to be able to adjust and improve. And as these games keep going in the playoffs, they get tougher. And so that's something that we've got to continue to get better at.
Coach, at this point in the game, it's the third quarter. The Badgers are up 30-6. I mean, talk about that. You're still up a lot of points, but also some mental errors going on. leaving some things on the table, just like we said before.
Yeah, the halftime score, I believe, was 30-6. And, at halftime, I told the guys that, this isn't a mercy rule situation. We're far from it. And we've still got to go out and play Badger football. The expectation doesn't change, and we've got to go out and execute and do better. And, we responded. It took a little bit to respond. I thought our defense did a really good job of holding true, especially on this drive right here. They worked the ball all the way down in the red zone. They're actually in the goal line area, but our guys did a really good job of not giving them anything. We were second and short, and our guys did a really good job of standing strong, and not backing down from anything. And so right here is the fourth down situation. And you see us, we're playing physical, we're being physical tacklers, and we don't give them a first down. That just shows you the mental toughness that it takes. A lot of teams, they'll back down from that in that situation just because it takes a lot to be able to stop a team.
All right, Coach, big play here ends up in a touchdown. Cam Archer using his speed.
Cam had a huge game for us, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and we needed him to. He's a senior. He stepped up and made senior plays for us Friday, and that's so encouraging to see him being able to continue to take on that role.
Little counter offensive play right there to the left. That was a nice written up play right there.
Yeah.
It's always fun having two big boys pull around the entire offensive line, making a alleyway for a touchdown.
For Blake Moody, senior running back, goes in late in the game and ran strong just like he knows how to do. And like I said, we feel like we've got a stable of running backs that we feel good about, and it's going to really come down to who's the most consistent and who's got the hot hand. Caden Whitaker's done a great job all year. I think he's over 600 yards rushing. Malachi Hamilton was able to come in and run the ball. He's a senior middle linebacker for us, but he's also a guy that we feel good about at the running back spot, very consistent, has great hands, knows what to do. He's just got the instinct to play running back, but he's been very valuable for us on the defensive side of the ball. So we've had some other guys in the rotation at running back, but now that we're in the playoffs, you'll probably see more of Malachi Hamilton.
Love it. Well, let's talk about Malachi Hamilton. Coach, it's the playoff time. We've got one player of the week. It's not offense, defense, special teams. There's one player of the week, and that is Malachi Hamilton. Let's talk about it, Coach.
Played a phenomenal game on defense, 10-plus tackles, 3 or 4 tackles for a loss. Was just solid on defense all night, and then was able to come in at running back and gave us some really good yards in some tough situations. I think he averaged 7 yards a carry. And just so dynamic of a player. When it comes to the impact of the game, we're just doing one player of the game. Malachi is it.
All right, the Badger Spirit Award winner this week. Let's talk about him, Gavin Jones.
Gavin Jones is a sophomore DB for us. But we ask, especially in the playoff time, it takes all of us. It takes all of us to be prepared and be ready for games. And Gavin has really stepped up and shown the fearlessness of himself to go in, and he's been our scout team running back against our starting defense and goes in, does a great job of giving us a great look, and then he flips around and does scout team for our offense also. So he flips around and plays defensive back and gives us a great look and is always positive and willing to do whatever it takes to help our team.
All right, let's look at the results from this past first round of the playoffs. Half of the teams are, out of a state championship contender, so it is now cut in half. But you got Pocahontas and Nashville there. Pocahontas coming away with a win. Arkadelphia getting a win there. You have got Bauxite barely pulling it off, 2-point win there. And you got Clinton getting the win there as well with Fountain Lake. And Dardanelle winning over Malvern. 3 of the 4A7 teams now out of the talk. Let's look at the standings. So just like we said, 2 4A7 teams are left, Arkadelphia and Bauxite. And this week, Clinton is coming to town. Bauxite is traveling to Little Rock to take on the Comets of Mills. So, Coach, Clinton's coming to town. We're also looking at that Southside and Elkins game, but we gotta win this one to see who we will play next week. It's either Elkins or Southside. We will be traveling to one of those two, but you got to take care of business first, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about it's the second round.
Yeah.
It's the second round. It's playoff time. Lose, you go home. Win,
That's right.
you keep on moving on. But, Coach, it's the home game. It might be one of the last home games. Coach, hosting Clinton this week. We've had them a couple times in the past couple years, but this Clinton team is different than years past.
They are. We played them in the playoffs back in 2021 and then again in 2022, back-to-back seasons. And I think this team is much better than those teams that we played. And so Coach DeFreen, I've got a lot of respect for. He's the head coach for Clinton. I think he does a great job with his program, with a great job with his kids, and they are going to be tough. They're going to come ready to play. You know, they've played us before. They know what we're about. And they're not going to be afraid. They're going to be ready to play. And they've got a really, really good team. They've only lost one game this year. They're very big and physical up front. They run the wing tee, and they do a really good job at it. Defensively, they mix it up. They run a lot of different stuff. A lot of it's based out of man coverage. They'll change their box alignments, but we've got to do a really good job of identifying what they're doing, and then we've got to go execute our plays too. And at the end of the day, it comes down to making a play, and you know, we've got to play physical football. You know, we've got to match and exceed their physicality. And you know, like I said, Coach DeFreen does a great job. Him and his staff. His kids are going to be ready to play. I've got a lot of respect for him. You know, Coach DeFreen's one of those guys that, you know, there's a lot of coaches around the state that get a lot of recognition, and there's some other guys around the state that don't get the recognition that they deserve, and Coach DeFreen's one of those. I think he's one of those guys that doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. He does a great job, just a great coach, and does well for his kids.
Well, Clinton's coming to town, Arkadelphia. Be there this Friday, 7 o'clock. It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a very, you know, it's going to be a good football game.
It's going to be a great football game.
Badgers versus Clinton.
We're excited about it.
So it's going to be an exciting game, physical game, but also got to be mentally sharp as well, going against the wing tee offense. I mean, something that we don't get to see necessarily in conference just a ton. But it's coming to town this Friday. Right. It's going to be fun. But if you cannot make it, the pregame show starts at 6:30 on APSD-TV.com. But I encourage you, might be one of the last home games of the year. So be there, support the Badgers, and it's going to be a fun game. Once again, if you cannot watch, the game will start at APSD-TV.com at 7 o'clock. But from there, go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Inside Badger Football is brought to you by the Arkadelphia Alliance and Chamber of Commerce, ATO Automotive, Batson Signs, Bell Wealth Services, Blakelytown, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Chicken Express, Citizens Bank, Domino's, Eccles, Thompson and Kneebone CPA, Doctors Gary and Rob Rucker, Knight Insurance Professionals, L&J Auto Sales, Ludwig's Bakery, Park Hill Baptist Church, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Print Mania, Providence Veterinary Care, Roger Wingfield State Farm, Scott Bird DDS, The Sexton Firm, South Central Connect, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Auto Collection, Taylor King Law, Tea Time Sims, Trinity Temple Assembly of God, Turner, Rogers, Manning and Plyler CPA, Twin Rivers Health and Rehabilitation, and Welch Funeral Home. Inside Badger Football is a production of the Washita Sports Digital Network, the student sports media program housed in the Rogers Department of Communications at Washita Baptist University.